Hi, welcome to Sponsorship Talk. I am your host, Roberta Vigilance. Today, we are going to touch on the subject of cybersecurity. Whether you are a solopreneur or a large enterprise, cybersecurity is a hot topic. I know that as solopreneurs, we don't believe we need to protect our information, but we do, especially, this is all about sponsorship. We need to protect our sponsors' information. We need to protect our information as well as a business owner or nonprofit, right? So this is important. So today I have an expert who I've known for, let's say, 4 decades or 4+ decades. Uh, it's funny because when we first worked together, this person brought to me a business plan, a book with a business plan, and I still find value in the information that he shares. He is just a forward thinker. He's been that way forever, and now he's the staple of cybersecurity. He's like the go-to person because he has been doing this for years. So I will introduce Mr. Harold E. Greene. He is the owner of EGT Networks Inc. And I will let you get to know him. Mr. Harold, welcome.
Well, welcome, you and audience. This is a beautiful day for all of us because now I'm going to share and impart some knowledge with everyone to help you secure your sponsorship network and your current network. Thank you very much for the introduction. Um,
Absolutely. Please let us
yes,
know about EGT Networks and who
mhm,
you are. Let's get to know
mhm,
you.
no worries. Okay, I'm what you consider an entrepreneur. Uh, love doing business. It's from college and from high school. I learned the process for how to do business, mainly IT, because that's my specialty. And then as I move forward throughout the years, incorporated, started a business. This is from college, and then move forward in different careers in IT. All my jobs were IT related, some retail. And then it got to a point. Let's fast track 10 years, 10 or 20 years. Clients start building up. Businesses, consumers, they got bigger, they kept with us. We start working with them to grow their business, their IT infrastructure. And then, of course, we were keeping an eye on their security, protecting them from malicious actors out there. So we've done a lot of research. We've collaborated with other experts in the field as well, vendors as well. We even have two clients that do cybersecurity as well. We actually set up their corporate offices, one in New Jersey, actually both in New Jersey. They're both global enterprise clients, one from England, one from India. So we also have situations where we had an office, one of the owners, past owners, was trying to infiltrate the business. So we were able to help them recover from that cybersecurity attack as well. Um, we've trained over 200 interns that became technicians, most of them, also entrepreneurs with us in the field. We've established long relationships with vendors, both locally and international. We have AIT support team in Israel, and we also have other IT support vendors in the United States that work with us. Um, the size of the client doesn't matter for us. It could be the entrepreneur, it could be a corporation, or it could be enterprise nationwide. So we're ambitious. We're here to help, and we're excited to help you in your sponsorship programs to secure your network and your sponsor's network to prevent malicious acts from day one. And if it does occur, we will help you get back from that. That's how our resources are dedicated to. I'm open to any questions you may have at this point.
Thank you. We really appreciate the knowledge um, that you bring to the table because it actually adds value to the sponsorship, especially it, when dealing with smaller local sponsors, smaller
Hmm.
sponsorship, local
Hmm.
sponsors, because anything can go wrong, and when it does, it costs a lot to fix. And sometimes, as a small to medium sized business, it's hard to fix a problem. It's more to fix a problem than to prevent it. So
Hmm.
something happens, for example, when you take in 2020 with COVID, and I know that's a little bit different, but when something large takes place, it's hard to rebound. Whereas some of the smaller business were able, like myself, were able to stay in business, right?
Hmm.
By pacing ourselves. I would
Hmm.
like to know, as a sponsorship seekers, how can they protect the sensitive sponsored data and the attendees' information from cyber threats during an event?
Okay, that's a great question. Um, this would apply to any event that that you're taking part in. Let's say you're responsible for the sponsorship. The client now holds the event. So there are certain things that we highly recommend and procedures and measures that will help you secure both your client's relationship and yours by maintaining a level of security that both of you feel comfortable with, especially with a lot of participants either on site or virtually participating in your network in the sponsorship event. So one of them I would suggest is parameter security. What do I mean by that? Is securing the network parameter by protecting border routers and establishing screen networks. This helps prevent unauthorized access. What does that mean? It means your router, your network device, make sure that the firewall settings are correct, are being updated, work with the network person in the office. And if you don't, there is other resources you could obtain to get an IT expert like ourselves to make sure that those devices have all the updates and firewall is secure in the network as needed. Now, the other thing is data segregation. That's basically separate sensitive data such as sponsor information from the corporate network. Limit access to this data to authorized personnel only. That one basically is self-explanatory. You have a sponsorship event, you have a list or a database you create for that sponsorship event only. You secure that list, limit access to that list with the personnel. Who's handling that list? What are you doing with the list? What's the purpose of the list? Now, the other one is regular audits. Conduct regular security audits to identify vulnerabilities and address them properly. Now, this ensures ongoing protection against cyber threats. Why? Because when you do spontaneous audits, it could be done automatically or it could be done with the IT professional implementing certain software and programs to do it on your behalf. That could be done on devices. There's even devices that actually do these audits by themselves, like a firewall, a cybersecurity firewall that actually specializes in this. We have tools in place that will create this process and maintain it for you. Another one, we would highly recommend employee training. So all these measures are great to have in place, but all it takes is one employee to click on the wrong email or mistakenly click on the email that says, "Oh, I have your password here, but it didn't go through. So we would like to process your request today. Please update it. Click this link." Mm-mm. For that, to avoid those situations, employees will be given training virtually or in person, combination of the two, of good practices in cybersecurity. So the awareness programs help prevent them accidentally data leaks or breaches. And that could be in the form of sending training emails to the employee, like I just mentioned. All of that is also virtual. so that the employees are aware, the owners, employees, and even anyone who participates in that network is given training to prevent any leaks or breaches. Which there's lots of different ways your security can be breached, especially by email. Um, Another one that I may mention is instant response plan. We need to have a plan of action. Develop a robust instant response plan. There is no foolproof guarantee of not getting hacked or not getting attacked in any way, shape, or form. Let me put it this way. If security was foolproof, why do we need to always have security? It will take care of it at once, and then there'll be no more security issues. You're done. These actors, these people, things, entities that are working against us to penetrate and get data and then wreak havoc are always reinventing the wheel and looking for ways to go after small businesses, enterprise, or anybody they've targeted. They want your personal data so they could use it. They could sell it. They could steal your identity. They could basically use it for whatever means from anywhere in the world. A hacker doesn't have to be somebody next door or the one sitting next to you in a cyber cafe. They could be all the way across the world in another country, another continent. They will never see or know you. So this is why we have to make sure we have an instant response plan in place, developed according to the company's culture and resources that will be able to handle security incidents effectively and minimize damage. So there are systems in place that need to be implemented with devices working together. This could be done in the cloud. It could be done with appliances. It could also be done with on-site security personnel. It depends on the organization. If they want that, there's options. The last part that I will mention, though, is vendor due diligence. Vet potential sponsors, cybersecurity practices, ensure that they meet their security standards before sharing sensitive data. You could simply send them an information that we would like to secure you and our attendees, as well as our client, by making sure that our cybersecurity practices are up to date and relevant to, because they could be sponsoring an event financially and they're getting information, client data. You want to make sure that the whole network, both networks that talk to each other, are in a safe environment. So those practices are highly recommended.
What advice would you give to sponsorship seekers on creating a comprehensive cybersecurity plan that not only protects their operations, but also instills confidence in potential sponsors?
Okay. First, they need to assess their network currently. If they don't already have a network professional or contact a cybersecurity professional to do an assessment, initial assessment of their network to see what they have, what they're working with right now. Then look at all the vulnerabilities that come out of that report. Assess those vulnerabilities because all of them could turn into something else that we don't want. So the first thing I would recommend is to do a network assessment or contact a cybersecurity expert, um, a company like ours that we would, yeah, I'm going to say a company like ours that we specialize in those things, but it's highly recommended that you get an expert opinion to help you plan that out. There's also some links that I will be able to share from the federal government that will have guidance on how to prepare yourself for get your company ready to protect yourself from in regarding cybersecurity. There's free information online as well. So I would say best practices is to minimize sharing of passwords, minimize the amount of information that you have on networks that are not fully secured. Update your antivirus software. Um, Look at your antivirus software. Do they have cybersecurity protection? Do they protect you in other ways besides the computer, the network? How many people are on the network at once? Is the accountant on the computer being protected in a way that it protects that vital information, that their account information, the bank account information, not just identity, but the bank account information of the company, the CEO's computer, email account, email addresses. Are those email accounts being protected? What kind of software, what kind of systems already in place to protect that? So cybersecurity will look at those things. The free assessment will give an assessment of what you have, and based upon that report, we will basically see, will basically give you recommendations to protect yourself. So a good plan of action, first step, get that assessment done, and then take it from there. But good practice would be secure passwords. Don't answer emails that you're not sure of. Um, especially doing with especially asking for password changes, account information, date of birth, any private or confidential information, even company secrets, trade secrets. That's something that businesses need to be aware of. There's other malicious actors out there that will look to get your trade secrets, and they will disguise themselves as somebody that you think is an employee of the company, and you have no way of verifying it. So do your due diligence.
So I'm thinking that when a cybersecurity company comes in as a partner to protect, let's say, my business and my sponsors' information, it's critical to have a business, a cybersecurity business that you trust, because
Mhm.
I would imagine that people are, they're just malicious and they would come in to take your information. Is that um, is that possible? And how much information do you see when you work with clients, or how much information do you have access to? And if you do have access to lots of private information, for example, banking accounts, when the sponsorship is paid, or private um, contact information. What do you see that information? And if you do, how is that handled?
Okay, that we will call sensitive information. So sensitive information, obviously, like for example, credit card processing. We don't store credit card information should not be stored on the computer. You process a transaction, the customer processes the transaction directly with the processing company on that portal. Done. Saving clients' credit card information in a database is not recommended, because if a database gets hacked, someone's going to have a field day and go shopping. We don't want that. Company will be liable. You will be sued because you violated you jeopardizes their security. So, getting back to the question, basically the trust level and access to information. For example, when we did cybersecurity, this is after the fact, we helped this company tighten up the security for the business. They were hacked. They said that one of the former owners logged in, and they were taunting them and telling them that they have access and they could literally take them down at any time. So what we had to do was get a compliance, do an audit for the business to look at all the vulnerabilities. If this former owner left or any former employee left and they had access to email, they had passwords and they had email account, when that person leaves the company, that information that they had access to should be restricted. In other words, that email account should either be deleted or archived, password changed or deactivated so they can't get back in. Security access for the office, the access control card, the employee card you use to enter the building, that should be deactivated. Those things, those policies and procedures should be already in place. If they're not, they should be worked on or plan to implement it. Because when somebody leaves the company, they could be leaving with still current access of information. For example, another client, it's a board of directors. When a former board member resigned, in it was a let's just say in a bad situation, so they resigned. Um, we had to delete their account, change their password, revoke access to all privileged information, change the bank account information because that person had access to the business bank account for the building. This is property management. So we had to secure all of that, restrict access to the security camera systems and any other systems, change the password, but basically putting a policy in place where we would not have to worry about that kind of liability. We do have access to all this information. Now we're obviously binded through ethical means and legal as well. So if anything goes awry, we are literally responsible for that. And of course, the business has insurance that covers it. There's insurance companies that have cybersecurity insurance to protect the business. I don't know if you're aware of that, but there is cybersecurity insurance. AIG has it as well. There's a lot of insurance companies that sells it now. So the cybersecurity professional that you're going to hire, you could do background check to see their credentials and so forth. That's fine. Do your homework. Um, for example, if they were trusted by multinational corporations, billion-dollar corporations to take care of their networks, then maybe they could help you too. But you have to do your due diligence. They will have access to confidential information. They don't necessarily are going to be going over each email that came in or each, it may be the portal in which all the emails are, and they're securing that through the network or the device, the firewall, the policies that they create. So we don't necessarily need to see all your information, like the bank account, so forth, logging in. We don't need to have password access to your bank account, your DVR. We would ask you to change the password. You keep that password. You're the one who's going to authenticate that password with the bank. And we did this for a property management company and many other clients too. We never stored their passwords on our network because the only way that they could verify resetting those passwords is by contacting the institution that actually has their account, like the bank. So storing passwords is an absolute no-no. And we don't necessarily, most of the cases, if not any, we don't have access to the personal emails. But that's only on a temporary basis while we're doing the setup and the configuration process. We may need access to certain things, and then they change the password after that, like a DVR. We set up a DVR, reset it, whatever it is, just reset, they change the password, they keep that.
I like that. I like the
Mm-hmm.
freedom. I like
Mm-hmm.
I like the freedom that you just shared. As a person, as a and also as a business owner,
Mm-hmm.
right? I look for. I don't like to share a lot of my personal information, and when I do, like when I'm as a consumer, I should say, um,
Mm-hmm.
but I trust wherever I go that my information is secured. As
Mm-hmm.
a business owner working with, let's say, someone who handles my accounting, um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't feel comfortable sharing all of my numbers with, you know,
Mm-hmm.
with new companies. I just don't. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what I do look for is how long that business has been established.
Mm-hmm.
For me, yeah, I've been in business for over 2 decades. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a track record. I don't follow what that says about me is that I don't follow the trend. So
Mm-hmm.
some businesses today you'll find them doing IT or cybersecurity. And then when you backtrack, you notice that they were doing something different, let's say SEOs, and then
Mm-hmm.
backtrack, then they were doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that a person cannot change their industry. What I'm saying is that when it's a hot trend, and
Mm-hmm.
I notice that people are jumping on these hot trends. I don't have that trust.
Right.
So one thing for sure is that you have been around for a very long time and you have great brands. You work with local brands to enterprises, corporate brands. So that says a lot about you, because if a person cannot trust you, then
Mm-hmm.
how can I uh, give you access to all of this private information?
Mm-hmm.
What I would like to know is, with
Mm-hmm.
cybersecurity, is our information at risk, or is there a higher risk at a live event, whether that event is online or offline, or online versus offline, or a higher risk when there is natural disaster or something that again happened in
Mm-hmm.
2020? Oh, how do you, does the risk change, and
Mm-hmm.
how do you kind of measure if that risk change, if it does?
Okay. Great question. So we do have other vendors that do data recovery, that specialize in that period. That's not a global vendor we have in California that we work with. So we partner with them. We have these relationships so we could bring you resources to help secure your environment. Now, as far as live events, yes, you have people logging into your portal. Now, like I mentioned before, your account information for your clients' access and so forth should not be on the same network shared in this live event. It should be somewhere else. So you only access that when necessary. So only thing for this live event, like say we're doing this podcast right now, you can't have access, you don't have access to my private information. All you have is my name and the company I work with and my email. That's it. There's no connection between this network and my database. So that's one. Separate those two. And your IT professional will, that's their job to do that. Um, when you have people come into the event on that network, it's a separate network, a Wi-Fi network. Like we go in offices and there's a guest network. The guest network basically means that you are restricted only to go online. You will not see any network resources at all. That's all you're doing. You're getting access to the internet. That guest network is not connected to the main network, which process all the transactions and so forth. You understand? So a
Mhm.
business, when they're doing the event, they may have a Wi-Fi network to process the credit card transactions. That's fine. Or keep that separate. That's one network. Then you have another network for guests to log into, be a guest, browse, check the website, register for programs, things like that. That's it. Because you have an open forum. You have an open environment, virtual and hybrid. You could have a hybrid environment where you have an actual location where we're doing cybersecurity event. Let's say we do a cybersecurity event in a hotel. The hotel Wi-Fi is open to everyone in the hotel and anyone walking around the hotel. What I would recommend, is your credit card processing be connected to a cellular network or a different network than the hotel network. So all your credit card transactions are secured in that network. That will comply with HIPAA laws for privacy. And there's laws that go in place where you have to secure your client information, and there's some penalties that are associated with that if they're violated. So to answer your question regarding privacy for the event, I recommend a guest network and a main network for you, more secure. And your participants in the event should not be sharing their passwords with other coworkers or employees at the event. Everyone has a separate password, a separate login for security purposes, so we could maintain accountability. If any one of the members of the team feel that their password they lost, it needs to be frozen, locked, and then reset immediately, authenticated immediately with the IT professional on site or the person designated for security of that event. Did I miss anything with that question or?
So, what I've heard is that it's important to have, or to know, where you stand with cybersecurity. Uh,
Hmm.
doesn't matter if it's a local event, if it's a festival, or if you are doing a festival in multiple states or countries. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just to know where you are, and you do offer that um, that complimentary, that free evaluation
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to kind of, this is where we are, you are at risk or you're not at risk. And if you are,
Mm-hmm.
these are the measures to take. So it's always good to know that is what I've heard. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I will then say to all of my listeners, where are you when it comes to cybersecurity? Are you protecting your information as well as your sponsors' information? Again, whether it's a small sponsorship or large sponsorship, I've always said that the size does not matter, because sponsorships have value, and you
Mm-hmm.
to protect your sponsors, local sponsors. If you have a list of media sponsors and you have that direct contact to the decision makers, you want to protect that list, because what happens is that anyone can gain access, and then next thing you know, that sponsor,
Mm-hmm.
that decision maker, they
Mm-hmm.
receive a lot of spam, then they change their email address, and then if you don't have that relationship, you have to start from ground zero again.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of time and or money into
Yes.
creating that list. So check to see where you are on
Mm-hmm.
the cybersecurity radar. Harold, it was great to have you uh,
Mm-hmm.
on my podcast, for you to share with the audience
Mm-hmm.
what we need to know about cybersecurity, and how it can affect our business and how it can help our business as well. Before we close off, is there anything else you would like to share with us?
Sure, of course. Just to keep in mind that once your network goes live, picture that you're open up to the world. You need to protect yourself. Protect yourself. Protect the your stakeholders, your investors, your clients, employees, everyone. So take the precautionary measures necessary now, rather than risking a financial disaster in the future. Because if you don't protect your network, your clients, your employees have the right to come after you for having their privacy breached if you do get hacked in your network. One of the clients we helped prevented this measure from was making sure that we implemented cybersecurity appliances and policies so that they protect themselves moving forward. They were hacked, they were aware of it, but they were fortunate that the person that hacked them was a rogue ex-owner, not a partner that left the company. We immediately took action and saved them. So to help you not get into situations like that where it will literally cost you thousands of dollars to repair, because you know implementing simple things like updating your antivirus, updating your firewall, getting cybersecurity compliance if you have heavy data processing systems, if you're processing credit cards, things like that on a network that is not secure, and you have a POS system and so forth. um, I've worked with enterprise companies like Macy's, for example, as their senior analysts, and I've seen them process $10,000 to $20,000 transactions on the Macy's floor on the POS machine in an hour or so. So they have to have a robust security system built into place, strategies, process, and they test you. But for the small business owner, these simple things as making sure your network is up to date, your firewall is up to date, and to help you with this process today, we would like to offer all of your audience the opportunity to get a free cybersecurity assessment from egtnetworkinc.com. That's www.egtnetworksinc.com. Now, that is complimentary. It's a free assessment. We will basically review what you have, and then we'll give you a report. so you could take it from there.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Also, do you have any social media handles you would like to share?
Yes, I will have to put that in it's on the website as well. When you go
Okay,
there, I will
beautiful.
have the handles for you. So there's a blog, cybersecurity blog, and even in this podcast, in this podcast, basically, if there's any users or any you that have any additional questions regarding cybersecurity for events or so forth, feel free to contact us through um, this podcast. My information would be available through there as well.
Okay, again, thank you so much, Harold, for joining us. We really appreciate you. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Please continue to support the podcast. Thank you so much for your contribution. Thank you also for visiting www.robertovigilance.com. You please reach out to Harold. Again, that website, I believe, is, I'll let you say it.
Okay, it's www. E for Edward, G for Go, T for Tom. It's EGT Networks Inc. Inc.com. That's EGT Networks Inc.com. And all, like I said, everyone in the network is previewed to free assessment. And I particularly like your last name, Vigilance. It's so fitting for this topic right now. Be vigilant.
Thank you so much. And likewise, Mr. Greene, we want to protect our green or whatever the color the currency is. Um,
Process,
yeah, for our process,
progress,
for our sponsors.
progress.
Progress.
Mm-hmm.
We are supportive of progress. We want to keep our sponsors. We want to grow,
Mm-hmm.
keep our network safe. So thank you
Mm-hmm.
again so much for joining us, listeners. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, stay blessed.
Au revoir.